It's the dog days of summer, baby. You know, it's August, and so now
Hot
it
August
is,
nights,
you know what I mean? It's time to talk about the best of Board Game Geek.
What's up, everybody? My name is Nick.
I'm Mike.
We are the Brothers Murph, and that's right. It's the best of Board Game Geek. Where we're gonna, so it's also like this is coming out. It's like Gen Con time, baby.
It's a busy time of year, yeah.
Last
Obviously,
month we talked about the Gen Con preview list, so make sure to check out that if you haven't already.
As of this recording, we're about to go to Gen Con, and when you see this, Gen Con will be going on, so there's going to be a lot of news right here in Board Game Geek, so do be sure to be following the hotness and stuff and tracking all those things if you find those things interesting. Speaking of news, I think we should get to some Board Game Geek news. So we often have a BGG Store update, and today is no different. You got some Herb Witches and Orleans bits back in stock. Those are always in high demand. There's also these awesome, super geeky Hawaiian shirts that I want. There's like these dice candle holders that are amazing, really cool bits and wooden player boards to hold all your stuff for Dune Imperium. There's always so much cool stuff. Do go check out those updates and see what's kind of coming up next. They do a lot of teases and previews as well as things that are back in stock. Make sure you don't ever miss out on those sweet, sweet bit upgrades.
A bit of Board Game Geek news is that the Spiel des Jahres announced their winners. They always have the Spiel des Jahres, the German game of the year, the Kenner Spiel, which is like a little bit more complicated game, and the Kinder Spiel, which is like children's game. And they announced their winners, and the winner for Spiel des Jahres was Sky Team. I love Sky Team. I was so happy to see it nominated. And I was so happy to see it win. That's so great. I really like Sky Team. I really like the people over at Scorpion Mass. They do really great work. And it was nice to see a pretty unique game get recognized. For the Kenner Spiel, the Kenner Spiel was Daybreak, which is a really cool game that I really want to play. It has a great look. It's kind of about like fighting climate change and things like that. Seems really cool. And then the Kinder Spiel, the children's game of the year, is a game called Magic Keys, which I don't know much about, but again, there's always now that Mike has a daughter, I'm getting more and more interested in the Kinderspiel because we can now start playing these games with her, and that'll be really fun. So really huge congratulations to the people who won the Kenner, the Spiel, and the Kinderspiel des Jahres. Big ups to them. So that was a little bit of Board Game Geek news, but we all know what we're here for, and that's the hottest game of the month. So let's go ahead and sit down and talk about the hotness. Alrighty, it's time for the hotness.
It's getting steamy in here. I put in heaters in the chairs. That's why.
Oh, that's why it hurts. All right, let's go ahead and start with number 10. Hey, okay.
Number 10.
So number 10 is going to be a game that I think we're both very excited for. This is going to be Speakeasy.
This is the next big chunky Lacerda game.
Tool art, baby.
Tool art and stuff. It's set in the world of speakeasies or prohibition and things, and you're making hooch.
Yeah.
Selling it to people. But if you know anything about Lacerda, they make big, heavy, crunchy, interconnected mechanism
games. Tend to be very thematically integrated games.
That's what got us so excited for this is personally, not that we have any say in this matter, but like the theming is always really cool in Lacerda games. The art by Tool is always elite, top-notch, unmatched. And the way that they blend mechanisms, so the theming is really interesting and kind of cool. So I'm just so curious to see like how that comes forth in the gameplay.
Yeah, I'm just so curious. I know you have little trucks and I think you're putting like barrels of hooch in the back and moving around, you're running some. It just looks cool. At this point, I mean, we're not the only ones, obviously. Any Lacerda game, especially the big box ones, mega excited for it. Just so excited for it. And this one's just got such a cool look. It's that kind of 1920s jazzy kind of look. Tool's crushing it per usual.
So awesome.
I'm so excited for Speakeasy. The Kickstarter I think will be out in September, but it's starting to get some hype going.
Yep.
Some pictures are starting to come out.
And things come out.
Yeah, so very excited for Speakeasy. That's number 10.
Number 9 is Harmonies.
Yeah, Harmonies has been here a couple months now.
It's been popping up and down.
Well, it's just been selling out everywhere. I mean, no one can. We got so lucky to get it. A game store had it. And I guess no one at that game store knew what a hot commodity that was. We were able to get it.
Everyone's like, how'd you get it? I'm like, I literally just got it at the store, which seems very lucky now. Harmonies is a game where you are getting these 3 tokens per turn, and you're putting it onto your little player board. And these tokens are going to be kind of like landscape types. They might be things that depict mountains or a tree or meadows or cities and things. And you can even stack certain ones of them on top of each other to make stuff. And you are kind of battling between 2 things. You're trying to make stuff that's going to score. They all have inherent scoring. So mountains you want to have like together connected and as tall as possible.
Trees you want as tall as possible.
You know, you want pairs of meadows and things. So you want to satisfy those, but you also have these animal cards that are going to want certain landscape types and heights and things arranged in a specific way to satisfy those, and place these cubes out to score points. So you're kind of trying to balance both of those, find harmony, as it were, between the two, because they can both be lucrative, but they don't always necessarily work well together.
I would say very often they don't work
pull you
well
in different
together.
directions.
Yeah, where it's like, oh, you want your mountain ranges separate, and it's like, no, your mountain ranges you want together, because that's how mountain ranges score. So a lot of times it's kind of antithetical to like the general scoring, and the general scoring can get you a lot of points, and these animals can get you a lot of points. So it's not like one's really super inherently better than the other one.
You're trying to find the best balance of the two.
Yeah, you're trying to find a harmony, as you said a second ago. It's really, really fun. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's kind of in that Cascadia line of like family weight, kind of chill, just relaxing little puzzle games. I really, really like Harmonies a lot. I think it's a banger.
Agreed. Yeah, so that is number 9, Harmonies.
Number 8's been here for a bit, and this is Slay the Spire, the board game. People are still loving this game. So people are still talking about it. I think No Pun Included did a video about it, and they were saying that it's better than the video game, and I'm like, ooh, that's a hot claim.
I think there's some things about the board game that are cool that the video game doesn't provide, because it's a multiplayer experience now, and you can literally like, you do this one kind of attack that has a buff.
Yeah, I'm gonna set you up. I'm
gonna make use of the thing you do. That's something you can't do in the video game as a single player experience. That's something that we've just enjoyed. It's like, wow, that's really cool, and feels really like you're on a team. You are not taking specific turns. You're not doing your whole thing and then I'm doing my whole thing. You're playing cards and stuff in whatever order you like, so you can really combo it together using this kind of blended characters, which is really neat.
It's really cool. And Slay the Spire obviously is a very popular video game, a roguelite. It's just a deck builder already. It's a roguelite deck builder, and then they made a board game out of it, and they had to adapt a lot of stuff, but it's very, very true to the video game. But there's certain things that you had to adapt to make it work for a board game, and it works really, really well. I like it a lot. Still want to play. We played the first act a bunch of times, so we keep showing it to people.
We haven't gone through the whole 3 acts.
Got to get through the whole thing, but I really, really like Slay the Spire. I think it's a blast.
Next up is the Mandalorian Adventures from Unexpected Games. This is set in the Mandalorian Star Wars universe, where you are different bounty hunters going on missions, kind of through like a storybook.
Yeah, I think we talked about this last time. It looks like an adventure book game from Ravensburger. They're not. Yeah. But they look similar.
I think we're going to be going through, there's a lot of publishers are doing this thing now where you kind of have this spiral-bound book you can open up, and that gives you your map for the scenario, which is like,
it's a way to
so smart.
Yeah, it's a way to have 12 board game boards in one game.
Oh, it's so easy. So I hope to see more of that, just as a personal aside.
It's so great.
Here you are playing different bounty hunters with your own abilities and kind of strengths and things like that, and trying to go through these missions, which is, that's kind of what the whole show is. Every show is sort of like a different quest.
Yeah, different, kind of episodic,
Yeah, so it's kind of a perfect thing to translate into a, dungeon crawler kind of game where you're going through these different scenarios.
Yeah, so. I think I'm really, really excited. I'm sure it'll be at Gen Con, and I'm very, very curious to, we'll probably try and pick it up, because I like the Star Wars universe. I like that kind of concept with the book. And I'm just curious, and I just want to try it,
Agreed. It's probably gonna sell like hotcakes, so we'll see if we get it.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
This is it. We're 90s kids and proud. And we very much grew up on Ninja Turtles. So when they put out a teaser from Restoration Games, they didn't tell us about it ahead of time, which they could have, but they didn't, because they knew we wouldn't be good with that secret. They put out a teaser that the next Unmatched Adventures, which is the cooperative way to play Unmatched, is going to be Ninja Turtles themed.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. The 4 playable heroes are the 4 turtles.
Yeah, it's great, which makes sense. Now, granted, you can play the heroes in Unmatched Adventures in normal Unmatched. So you can have like Raph go against Leonardo.
Which, I mean, they're at odds sometimes.
They're at odds sometimes, So, but that's like, that makes sense. Is a 4-pack of heroes there.
Such a
with
good
the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So excited so Unmatched Adventures, you don't know. You have, it's a cooperative one. You're going against some kind of big villain. So in the original one, it was kind of cryptic. It was like Mothman and like a Martian invasion. This one is Shredder and then Krang. And so it's going to be really, really interesting, because then they also have minions with them.
Yeah.
So like,
I imagine the Foot is going to be there.
The Foot, probably Bebop and Rocksteady, will probably be separate minions and stuff like that. So I'm just like, oh my gosh, there's so much you could do with that. I'm so excited. Going up against Shredder and Unmatched Adventures. I'm so curious. And then I don't know if the art is all this, but at least the cover art is Oliver Barrett, who did like the original Unmatched. My favorite Unmatched artist. I love Oliver Barrett's work. So I'm just like, oh my gosh, it's Oliver Barron.
He does such like action-packed, like really kind of visceral stuff.
Yeah,
So I think it would work really well with the Ninja Turtles. I hope you get the whole thing.
Oh my gosh, I'm excited. So yeah, so this is gonna be a Kickstarter one, and I don't know, I'm gonna get it immediately though, because I want it so badly. I love Unmatched Adventures and the Ninja Turtles too.
Yeah, and again, that cross-compatibility where you can play with the characters against, you know, just in a standard game of Unmatched. So you can have Leonardo go versus Sherlock Holmes, and that's just breaks your brain to think about. So we are personally, as 90 kids, very excited for this.
Number 5 is a game called Luthier.
Famously, that's what a violin sounds like. Luthier, yes, Luthier, where you are playing, you know, instrument makers and restorers in the Victorian age.
In the 80s.
Well, yeah, I guess. Yeah, in the 80s, it was.
You're making V guitars, you know?
So sick, so much synthesizer.
Yeah, so you're taking on, you're a family of luthiers, and you have worker discs that have different strengths, and you are placing them around, and you're getting new instruments that you kind of like, essentially instrument blueprints that you can build. You're getting patrons who are going to want certain kinds of instruments. You can perform music, because all music, you know, instrument makers also could play these instruments. So you go and put on performances, you can repair stuff. And so you're putting out these workers, but it's interesting because we've actually got a chance to play this, and we both really liked it.
It's great.
It's interesting because when you put out your strength of worker, you put it face down. And so when a certain spot activates, you're going to turn all the discs there face up, and they're going to activate in strength order. So the highest strength will go first. And so there's this really interesting thing of like, I want to put this here. I really need to go first.
Yeah.
So I really need to put my 5 there.
Yeah.
And then someone else, you're like, oh, did Mike put their 5 there? Okay, I'm gonna put my 5 just in case. And it turns out you put your 1 there. And I'm like, oh, I could put my 3 there. It would have been fine. And so it's a really interesting part of the game.
Yeah, I really enjoy kind of worker placement that goes in that kind of way, where it's like the spots aren't blocked, but the priority, the need to get certain items quickly, you know, can be really important. So how you allocate that kind of strength
really
to a spot is cool. And you can go to the same spot multiple times even. There's a lot of like levers to pull in this one.
A whole bunch of different
ways to get resources. There's just a lot of things that will provide you pathways to points and victories, a little bit of area control with the orchestra as you're building instruments, performing and stuff. You're kind of putting your mark on the orchestra that everyone's going to see, and there's a bit of control there. Really a lot. Awesome art by Vincent Dutrait. I mean, maybe my favorite art by Vincent Dutrait. It's up there. It's so good.
It's definitely up there. You might be right. It's really pretty. It's just really gorgeous. Pretty. Yeah, it's Gorgonzola. It's really good. Yeah, Luthier was really fun. Great art. Cool theme. It's just a banger. Number 4 is going to be, again, the #1 thumbed up game on the Gen Con preview list. This is Rock Hard 1977, which was made by our good friend Jackie Fox.
Absolutely.
Who we really, really love.
Semi-autobiographical. Jackie Fox was in the rock scene in 1977.
Yes.
And this is about those experiences.
Yes, it is.
Being in a band.
Yeah, Jackie Fox was the bass player for the all-female band The Runaways. And so, Jackie Fox is like a rock star and like a Jeopardy champion and stuff. Jackie Fox is very
all-around amazing human being.
Yeah, just a really wonderful. They wanted to make a game based around rock and roll and like the 70s and stuff like that. And it seems really, really cool. You're like taking on a band, and you're like, I love it because you have to like have a job, and because you're like you
haven't made it yet.
You haven't made it yet. So you have to play a job, and so you're like mixing the whole like having to do your job, but also having to go out and like play games, you
got a gig
music at night, and you can get like fired from your job and stuff. I just think it's so cool. All the amps go up to 11 because of course they do.
Yeah, they do.
It just seems apparently it's really, really fun. It's got such a cool theme. It's by Daviau, and Daviau makes bangers. So I'm like, if Daviau picked it up, then this game's gonna be great.
There's something to it for sure. Yeah, and we talked about this in a recent top 10. We were talking about Gen Con games. And this is one where we just saw Luthier and stuff. We're getting more games centered around kind of music, which is something we are clamoring for. And I really enjoy this, which is about the journey of like trying to make it as a band, like really putting you in the shoes of the musician and like in a real life kind of way. The fact that you're balancing a job is hilarious. To me. It's so real. As someone who bombed around in Los Angeles for a decade plus, I get it. Like that's just got me so excited. So we're, as we talked about in another video, just we've been hearing about this project for a long time from Jackie. It's been this long road, and it's really cool to see that come, in full view. Like here it is. It's and being able to play it. So we cannot personally wait to pick this one up. But it's been getting people's attention.
Number 3, we talked about earlier a little bit during this show, and that is going to be Sky Team, because Sky Team won the Spiel des Jahres.
Yes, it did. So
people are talking about, we probably, number 10 or so probably could have been Daybreak, which won the Kenner Spiel.
Yeah.
And so, but Sky Team won the Spiel des Jahres, and I freaking love Sky Team. I was so excited when it got nominated.
It was cool.
Because this is
really
a
cool.
really unique game where it's a 2-player game where you're trying to land a plane together.
Yeah, I've never played a game with that kind of theme or anywhere close to it, where it's this dice placement, a 2-player game where you are a pilot and co-pilot. Yep. So you kind of each have half the board where only you can place your dice, and there's these 3 kind of coffee spaces where either person can play. And you each have your own things that you need to be in charge of in order to get the plane prepared to land. If you're the co-pilot, you need to basically be on that radio clearing planes out of the way and deploy those flaps. If you're the pilot, you need to, make sure you get the landing gear down. It's preferable to have wheels.
The landing gear is down.
And stuff like that. And you are then together managing your speed and your approach and kind of your tilt. And you need to come in nice and flat and level and not overshoot the airport. So there's all these ways that you could kind of mess things up, and you got to track them all, which is true to landing a plane. It's easy to get a plane in the air and keep it there. It's hard to land. You know, that's the hard part. So this won the Spiel des Jahres, which they got it back in people's attention. They also announced an expansion coming.
Yes.
Super excited for that.
Yeah.
We're personally big fans. We just love that. And there's so many scenarios and things you can add on to this game to up that challenge level. There's really so much to explore in like this small little box.
Yeah, I can't sing its praises enough. I love Sky Team. I'm so happy that it won the Spiel des Jahres. It's just great. So that's Sky Team number 3. Number 2 is Everdell Duo. Number 2, Duo. I didn't do that on purpose, but it worked out.
Well, here's the thing. I know the branding's important. Everduel. Why do we Everduel?
Oh, it's a good point.
Everduel. I think the reason is Everdell Duo can be played cooperatively. Yes. So it doesn't exactly work. But you know what I mean? Everdell Duo is a 2 or 1 player version of Everdell that you can play against each other or work together for a score, and you are doing Everdell-like things where you are gaining resources to put critters and constructions into your city, but putting it into a little bit different vibes, a little more heads up and direct interactive play to kind of maximize for a 2-player experience. Yeah,
there's gonna be a Kickstarter for it coming soon, and Everdell, they're returning to Everdell well. It's people really, we like Everdell and stuff like that, but they've done a couple kind of different versions now at this point, because they have Far Shore, which is kind of Everdell, but in like a watery world.
Everdell at the sea.
Basically.
On the shore.
My Little Everdell, which was like, I think it was last year's big Gen Con release for them, although this isn't a Gen Con release. Everdell Duo. I'm always interested in 2-player versions of games. And this one definitely seems like it's got some different stuff going on, right? I know you're playing cards down to like the meadow as opposed to like getting cards from the meadow and stuff.
And James and Clarissa Wilson, the designers of all the Everdell games, were talking about their experience and talking about not having a lot of time always, as you're managing all the other stuff in your life, and to be able to get the feel of an Everdell but in a shorter period of time was really kind of the goal. It's also something as a dad of a toddler, I can relate. Like sometimes I only got 30 minutes, but I want a chunkier game experience within that time. So that was kind of their vision with this. Is like, how do we make this, give you a lot of that punch with not as big of a time commitment. So
so that's Everdell Duo, or Everduel, as we say.
That's what I'm
but nonetheless, that is number 2. Let's go to number 1. Number 1 is the same as it was last month because it's still super hot, and this is Arcs.
Yeah, Arcs is around.
Arcs is around.
Arcs is...
Leader Games booth is going to be bananas.
It's going to be crazy. So Arcs is the new kind of big game from Leader Games.
And I think there's an expansion on Kickstarter now? Or there's one coming to Kickstarter
soon. I think there's more content. There's already an expansion or kind of like a fuller game experience that came with the original. So this is one that delivered recently. Leader Games has such a good reputation at this point for good reason, for making these just impactful, really kind of lifestyle games you can really invest your time into, which is great. And Arcs is no different. It uses kind of a trick-taking mechanism to facilitate how you take your turns, what actions you do, and how many kind of action points you get. You're playing cards out in a trick-taking like way, which is kind of like a really interesting thing to have at the center of a game that is mostly area control, blow each other up, mess with each other's day, trying to control as much of the board as possible. So it's kind of fun to have this card mechanism in the center of it.
Because it's interesting. It's not like trick-taking it's basically someone leads with a card.
You don't have to follow suit.
Yeah, and the different cards, the different suits of cards have different actions kind of attached to them.
Yeah.
And so you can either play the same suit but higher, which means you basically get to do all the actions that you kind of can, or you can play one face down and basically just do one action of the lead suit, or you can basically pivot and do one action of a different thing.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting. So it is. It's like this weird kind of like trick taking. And that's the way you decide what actions you're going to do.
It can be really tactical because based on what's going on in the current situation, you might need to pivot your strategy. Maybe that means play a card for pivot or whatever. So you're like, what opportunities are presented by this moment right now in the game? It's always interesting.
And on top of that, like if you win the trick, and again, it's not really a trick, but if you basically play the highest card of the suit, you then get to go first. And going first is huge because you get to play the first card, which means you're guaranteed to get to do all the actions that you want to, basically. Not all the actions you want to, but all the actions you're able to.
Yeah.
Whereas everyone else then has to like kind of scramble, be like, okay, can I beat that card or do I pivot? And so it's a humongous advantage going first. Yeah. So it does make that part really interesting. Yeah, arcs, people love it. It's good, it's fun, and it's not going to leave for a while.
It's going to be on here for a while. Might not always be number one, but I imagine it'll be in the 10 for
probably
I'd
for
say for the rest
year.
of the year is probably fairly likely.
Yeah. Alrighty.
So those are the 10 games that are the hottest, but let's talk about which games are played the most.
Indeed. Okay, so I have the list here in front of me.
What you got?
So number 10 is going to be Terraforming Mars, which has 6,485 plays.
I committed one of those plays this month.
You did at least one.
One of those.
We have Marvel Champions, which is 6,557. Marvel Champions is almost out of the top 10, which is bananas.
Wow, it's still around though. It's not going anywhere.
Harmonies has 6,606.
Wow, that one is just coming out on Board Game Arena soon. It's an alpha.
It's gonna be number one next month.
It's gonna spike for sure.
That's my prediction.
It's a great game for BG.
Wingspan has 6,897.
Wow.
Trio or Nana has 7,228.
Nice.
Captain Flip has 7,397. Also nominated for the Spiel des Jahres. I thought Captain Flip was going to win the Spiel.
It would have been. Here's the thing: it's not to say that one pick is better or what. It would have been a great.
It's just
pick.
That's a very Spiel des Jahres
kind of game.
That's a very Spiel des Jahres kind of game.
Very family friendly. I absolutely love that.
It's one of the. It's so good. Sea Salt and Paper, 7,567. Azul has 8,293. Sky Team has 8,998. And of course, Arc Nova is number one with 10,448. Per usual, about 1,500 ahead of everyone else.
I've committed a lot.
You sure have.
A lot of Arc Nova this month. I have like 3 or 4 games going with different people all the time. Everyone's playing Arc Nova right now.
Yeah.
Right? Everyone's playing. So those are the most played games. Let's go ahead and get into some Murph picks.
My Murph pick is a thread by Sultan of Woodland called Introduction to Capsule Board Gaming. And what that is capsule kind of stuff. It's kind of a way to declutter things. Basically saying like, you should really only have like 10 shirts, 4 pairs of pants, and 2 shoes, because you can pair this shirt with this pants and make an outfit. You can have the same shirt with a different pair of pants and you have a completely different outfit. And the kind of idea is that you can have a ton of variety with less stuff. You don't need 100 different shirts. You can have 10 shirts and still have a ton of variety. It's that kind of concept, but taken to board games. And they were talking about kind of the different criteria. So it'd be like player count, complexity, intensity, and then average game length were the 4 kind of criteria. And like, what are the 5 games that you would choose to essentially make like the most well-rounded collection in terms of those criteria in this kind of capsule board gaming? And it was like one of the examples they gave was like Hanabi. Hanabi is very, very simple. It plays well at lots of different player counts, but it also has some complexity and some depth. But again, if you're having 5 different games, you don't want them all to be like, you know, Carcassonne level games. Those are kind of gateway-ish level games. You can have a mix, and that's kind of thing is like, okay, so what 5 games would meet some of these criteria and really round out my game collection? Like, I think they also had Root on there. It's like, sure, that's, you know, you really probably not best for player count because you probably want all 4 people there for that, but it's got a ton of complexity. So you can totally have that, but you're gonna need some other stuff to kind of offset it. So it was talking about making a really well-rounded collection in 5 games. I thought it was a really interesting concept. Mike and I have actually talked about this a lot. We've done a lot of challenges over on our channel, the Brothers Murph, and a lot of times those challenges are kind of based around that. Like, you can pick these 10 games, or like you can pick enough games to fit into the Kallax shelf. What's the best game collection that you can fit in there? And try to make a really well-rounded collection. It's a really fun concept, and so I want to know, what are the 5 games you choose? And if you do put those down in the comments, make sure to also go over to the forum post and put them in there and engage over there as well, because I thought it was a really interesting idea. So put the 5 games that you would choose down in the comments and then over in that forum post.
Now, my mic pick this month really something I could relate to. It's by a user called Horror Hiker, and the title was My Unsleeving Catharsis. I immediately clicked on it and read it because I was like, oh yeah, let's see what this is, because we personally have gone through this shift of mindset from sleeving all the cards that we got in games early days and now taking all those away, not sleeving new games and unsleeving old games. And this user kind of first did this with Arkham Horror. Of course, you're collecting a ton of cards over various sets for that game, so it really can be quite a lot. And they realized upon unsleeving some of it that they really missed the kind of tactile feel of cards, of just plain, you know, unsleeved, unsheathed cards in their hand. And that was something that for them was, you know, an important piece of gaming, of the entire sensory activity of gaming and stuff. And that's something that we personally relate to a lot. We kind of say, like, you know what, I like just having cards to shuffle and stuff. And I know that there's like the wear and tear on them. I completely understand. And we're personally like, well, we don't play each individual game that often, so they're gonna have a long lifespan and we generally take care of our stuff. So I think it should be okay. This is by no way trying to persuade people to do the same. By all means, do with your games what feels good to you and what makes you happy, and what, you know, if you want them all to be perfectly, you know, perfect forever, that's totally great. But it was just something that was so funny because we started off sleeving everything. We had just boxes and boxes of sleeves for any and all needs. And then we shifted so hard the other direction. So it's kind of fun to read someone else's journey about doing the very same. So it's just a little reminder to make posts about whatever it is in your journey of board gaming, because I promise you, it's fascinating to read. I love hearing how people interact with this hobby. So make sure you do that right here on Board Game Geek.
Alrighty, so those are some Murph picks. At the very end of the video, we always talk about our personal favorite game experience, whatever, of the month. Mine is actually gonna be the Plum Island Horror.
Oh, nice.
You haven't had a chance to play it yet, because I soloed it so I could learn it. I really liked it. So gosh, at some point during, this was on the Hotness, I remember we learned about this game because we had to talk about it during the Hotness months and months and months ago when it first came out. And so we were always like, it's a GMT game, kind of has little like war gamey bits. GMT tends to make a lot of war games. But it's about you're like stuck on this island and there are like zombies coming through.
Yeah, and it's kind of like the style is like very kind of like pulp comic-y.
Yes, very like pulpy, pulp comic-y, that kind of stuff. Looks really, really fun, but everyone has like their own faction. You'll have like 5 or 6 units for your faction. All your people do different stuff. All the factions kind of have like strengths and weaknesses. And it's a cooperative game, and you're basically trying to evacuate people off of the island. And so you're like the neighborhood watch is like one of the factions, like the police of the factions.
The city government.
Yeah, that guy, the municipality or kind of thing like that. And you all have different stuff that you do, and it's kind of a, I don't know how to describe it. I guess kind of like a MOBA-ish game.
Oh yeah, MOBA's good.
Because basically,
kind of marching down.
Yeah, there's basically columns, and the zombies will be going, there's going down the columns, and you can fight them. They obviously can fight you, and you're trying to evacuate. There's like ships you're taking around to try to get people on the boats. It's really, really fun. I soloed it because I wanted to learn it, and I was having a blast. I really, really liked it.
So fun, dude.
And it's pretty approachable too. I'd say once you get into it, it's not that complicated. So I really want to play it with you. My favorite is gonna be the Plum Island Horror.
Very nice. Mine is, I've just changed my mind on what's gonna be. There's a lot of good gaming stuff this month, but mine's gonna be Pagan Fate of Rono.
Oh, okay.
This is a 2-player
really
asymmetric game where you have a person who is a witch hiding amongst the villagers, and then you have a witch hunter, and they're trying to figure out which of those villagers is a witch. Yeah. And it's a worker placement game where you're gonna be putting out your workers mainly on those villagers, which each have actions you can do, and you're spreading secrets around if you're the witch player, or clues, investigations if you're the witch hunter, and you're playing items and things to mess with your opponent as you're trying to fulfill your goals. So if you're the witch, you want to basically perform this special ritual, or you want the witch hunter to miss and kind of kill 3 villagers that were not the witch and stuff, and that's how you win. If you are the witch hunter, you're trying to find and take out the witch, or you're trying to exonerate the other 8 villagers, so you know for a fact who is the witch.
Exactly.
So you have these different goals. You have your own deck of cards you're using, your own types of things.
Some different actions that only
I have
you
like
can
familiars,
do.
and you have allies you can use in locations, which give you worker placement spots I can't go to, but I can do enchantments to mess with you. There's all sorts of really cool stuff.
It's really
and then
fun.
scenarios things to boot, which we haven't even gotten into. So that's
Yeah.
my pick is Pagan, Fate of Roanoke.
Ooh, good pick. Yeah, it was a really, really fun game. But nonetheless, those are our favorite games month. Down in the comments, let us know your favorite games
Boom.
of the month. And have a great, I guess, rest of your August. And we'll see you next month for the hotness.
We'll see ya.